Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever had this amazing idea, this brilliant concept, but then you just stopped because turning it into a real thing felt completely overwhelming? Well, today we are pulling back the curtain on that exact process. We're going to deconstruct the blueprint that takes a project from just a spark of an idea all the way to a successful launch. So let's get into it.
So, picture this. You've got it. A fantastic concept for a brand new service. But the real question is, what's next? I mean, how do you actually get from point A to point Z without the whole thing descending into chaos, confusion, and a lot of costly mistakes? That's the puzzle we're going to solve today.
And to do that, we're going to use a real-world example, the Plant Pals project. It's a plan to launch a new plant delivery and care service. Now, the documents you see here, the charter, the schedule, the budget, they might look like just a bunch of paperwork, but they're not. They are the vital organs of this project, and we are going to dissect each and every one.
So here's our roadmap for this breakdown. We'll start with the project's brain, its core goal. Then we'll look at the skeleton and circulation, the resources that give it structure and life. We're going to explore the nervous system. That's the team that makes it all happen. And finally, the immune system that protects it from all the things that can go wrong. It all comes together to create the final blueprint for success.
Okay, first up, defining the goal, the project's brain. Every single successful project has to start with a clear guiding intelligence, a brain. This is where we figure out the mission, the purpose, and where we're ultimately trying to go. Without this, everything else is just, motion without any meaning.
So we have to start by answering the most fundamental questions right out of the gate. What are we actually building here? And just as important, why are we building it? Why does it matter? The answer to all of this lies in two really key documents.
First is the project charter. And you can think of this thing as the project's official birth certificate. It's a high-level document that basically announces, hey, this project exists. It outlines the main objectives and who the key players are. This is the single source of truth that prevents that number one project killer having important people on completely different pages about what you're even trying to do.
Okay, next we zoom in a little bit with the Statement of Work, or SOW. Now, if the charter is the birth certificate, the SOW is the detailed contract. This is where we get specific. It outlines the exact deliverables and the scope of the work. This document really defines the project's boundaries, and it prevents that dreaded scope creep, where new requests just keep getting added until the project bloats into something totally unmanageable.
Now, to make sure these goals aren't just vague wishes, the Plant Pals plan uses the SMART framework. It's a classic for a reason. Their goals had to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. This simple little acronym transforms a fuzzy idea like launch a new service into a concrete target that the whole team can actually aim for.
All right, so with a clear brain in place, the project now needs a body. And that means mapping out our resources. We're talking time and money. These form the project's skeleton and circulatory system, giving it the structure and the energy it needs to actually move forward.
For Plant Pals, that structure is built on a very specific number, $62,000. That's the total target budget for their operations and training plan. This single figure is the financial backbone for this entire effort.
But where does all that money actually go? Well, as you can see, the biggest piece of the pie is for logistics, delivery trucks, drivers, that sort of thing. Another 15 grand goes to software, 8,000 for training. But look at that last little slice, a $3,600 reserve buffer. That is the project's safety net. And trust me, it is absolutely critical for when things don't go exactly as planned.
And the other key resource, of course, is time. The Plant Pals project is mapped out across three major phases. Phase 1, in March and April, is all about logistics. Phase 2, during April, is for getting the software installed. And finally, Phase 3, in May and June, focuses on training up the team. This gives the project a really clear rhythm and flow.
So we have a brain and a skeleton. But to make it all act and do things, we need a nervous system. And that's the people, the roles, and the communication channels that coordinate every single action and keep the entire project connected and responsive. I mean, this is a classic project killer right here. You have a great plan, but nobody's quite sure who's supposed to do what. That kind of ambiguity just leads to dropped balls and people doing the same work twice. So, how do you bring absolute clarity to everyone's roles?
Well, the answer lies in a really cool tool called a RACI chart. But first, we have to understand the most important difference it makes, and that's the difference between being responsible and being accountable. The responsible person is the one physically doing the work. But the accountable person, that's the one who owns the outcome and gets to make the final call. And here's the critical part. There can only be one accountable person for any given task.
Let's actually see how this works. For the task, Create Marketing Plan, the marketing coordinator is responsible. They're the one doing the typing, the research, the actual work. But the marketing manager is accountable. They own the final plan, they sign off on it. Meanwhile, the director of product is consulted for their expert opinion. See, this simple chart just eliminates any confusion about who does what.
And that clarity also extends to communication. The plan lays out a super clear rhythm: daily check-ins for the core team, weekly updates for other departments and managers, and then a final debrief for senior leaders. This ensures that information is flowing constantly, like nerve impulses, keeping everyone perfectly in sync.
Okay, we've got a plan, we've got resources, and we've got a team. But what happens when the project gets attacked by problems? Because it will. For that, it needs an immune system, a predefined process for identifying, classifying, and neutralizing threats before they can derail the whole thing. Let's be real for a second. No project goes perfectly according to plan. It just doesn't happen. Problems are going to pop up. The difference between a project that succeeds and one that fails is often how you prepare for that inevitability. You need a system.
So the Plant Pals project uses a simple but powerful tool called a ROAM analysis. Let's look at an example. So here's the issue: plants are being delivered late. The action they took was to reassess the delivery routes. Now, this didn't solve the problem completely, but it definitely reduced its impact. So, within the ROAM framework, the team designated this risk as mitigated.
So what the ROAM framework does is it gives you 4 clear paths for every single obstacle. Is it resolved, meaning it's totally gone? Is it owned, meaning someone specific is actively working on a solution? Is it accepted, meaning you've just decided to live with it for now? Or is it mitigated, where you've taken steps to lessen its impact? This gives the team a playbook for handling any problem that comes their way.
And that brings us to the complete picture. The charter, the budget, the RACI chart, the ROAM analysis. These aren't just separate documents sitting in a folder somewhere. They are all interconnected systems that, when they come together, create something really powerful, a true blueprint for success.
So what's the big takeaway here? A great project plan is so much more than a to-do list. It's a compass. It provides a single source of truth so everyone is on the same page. It defines clear roles to eliminate confusion. It maps out your precious resources, and it aligns the entire team toward one common goal. And maybe most importantly, it prepares you for all those inevitable bumps in the road.
You see, in the end, a project plan isn't about restricting creativity. It's actually about enabling it. It's the sturdy foundation that gives you the freedom to build something amazing without the fear of it all collapsing. We've just walked through the anatomy of a really solid plan. So the only question left is, what are you going to build?